We are introducing a new inspection framework for work-based learning providers, colleges, and also the new Next Step arrangements from September 2009. And a number of things we're trying to achieve through those new arrangements. We're having a really strengthened focus on capacity to improve. We really want to help the system to build up its own capacity to make improvements, to deliver quality, to reflect on what they're doing and try and make it better themselves without relying on inspectors to come in and tell them how to do it. And linked to that is a proposal that we will change the frequency of inspection. At the moment we have an inspection visit every 4 years for everyone regardless. In the future what we're proposing is that those providers who are good or outstanding will have a longer interval between their inspections because, if you like, we will trust them more, we'll have greater reliance on the fact that they're able to deliver high quality. And of course each year we'll check that and monitor that through looking at information data and through looking at self-assessment reports as well, which will remain really central to this. We're also going to spend more time looking directly at teaching and learning opportunities, whether they're in the workplace, in the studio, on-site, and to actually look at that interaction between the learner and their tutor, teacher, trainer, mentor. And we're also going to be looking more closely at how providers meet the needs of individual learners. And particularly we're going to be using learners' views far more as part of our inspection evidence. We have in our pilots been experimenting with using text messages and also having an email address open to learners to give us their views. And we've also been talking to learners about ways in which we might do this. And some of them have suggested things like a Big Brother diary room, which actually I would really love to pilot, but I think the logistics of that are going to be quite difficult. But what we found with the texts and the emails was really helpful stuff. And we had some good insights from learners. They were pointing things out that helped us to focus our inspection on particular areas and trails. Sometimes we found what they had said was backed up. Other times we found it wasn't. But we think it's going to be a really valuable and important addition to the way we inspect. I think probably the other thing just to say briefly is that we are obliged to focus far more now on equality and diversity and how providers and employers in the workplace are promoting that, and to make sure that all safeguarding arrangements are in place. So safeguarding for younger learners, 16 to 18, and also for adults who are considered to be vulnerable. So people with learning difficulties or people have in distress at particular points. And there are now government legal requirements about how providers deal with that and make sure that we put all possible safeguards in place. So there's quite a lot happening. We're also looking at continuing some of the things that we know have worked well in inspection. We're still going to have the same 4-point grading scale. We still have the strong focus on self-assessment and having a nominee involved in the inspection. We found that really helpful to have someone from the provider working with the inspection team. They're able to hear the debate, they're able to understand the issues far better. So when we leave the provider, they have a basis for building their action plan. What we're also continuing with are a high priority, obviously, on outcomes for learners, achievement of their full frameworks in the case of apprenticeships, achievement of progression as well. And we're looking very closely at that, helped by, in fact, the Framework for Excellence measure on progression, which we're looking forward to seeing that embedded far more. And we're also going to be working with providers to do the pre-inspection planning, and we'll share our pre-inspection briefing with them as well, so they know what to expect. I think, though, one of the big differences is there's just going to be 3 weeks' notice. So there's going to be far less time for rehearsals and preparation. We really want to see providers as they are and to see what they're like day to day, because that's what learners are getting. And we're inspecting this on behalf of the learners.
That's great. Can I ask a question around the length of time you mentioned? So if a provider is seen to be of excellence, what sort of timescales are you thinking the next inspection will take?
Yeah, it could be up to 6 years, we've said.
Okay.
And that will be as long as, when we review performance annually, we're assured that there is a continuing high standard of performance. But for many providers, and particularly some of the larger employers who say to us, I'm good at this, why do I need you to come in? We'll say, well, if you prove it to us, we will be content not to inspect you quite so frequently.
And what sort of grade would you be sort of anticipating that be? Would that be people that have got grade 1?
We primarily people who've been graded outstanding, but also those who've been graded good and have continuing high levels of performance or hopefully improvement.
So if you get a grade 2, then it could potentially be 6?
Could be, yes, yeah. It will depend very much on a whole load of factors, including the mix of sector subject areas, whether they were all graded highly or whether there were a couple that were satisfactory. So it is quite flexible. And for me, I have to say, one of the important things is that flexibility, because it means there's always the unpredictability of when inspection comes along. And I've been in the sector long enough and the system long enough to know that there's a lot of preparation goes on before inspection, often up to a year. And actually, I don't want people spending their time doing that. I want them to focus on learners and giving them the best possible experience.
Yeah, that's great. And you said that the amount of time between regular inspections is going to change, or what's the anticipated timescales on that?
Right. Well, if a provider's been judged as satisfactory, it's likely that that will remain as the current 4-year interval, approximately. Maybe 3, maybe 4.5, but roughly 4 years. Where a provider is inadequate, or where there are parts of provision that are inadequate, we would do re-inspections, we would have monitoring visits. And the purpose of changing the balance of inspection in this way is that we can focus our efforts and energies, and public money after all, on those providers where we can make the most difference and where currently we feel that learners are not getting a good deal.
And is there going to be additional support facilities in place for learners and providers that are struggling?
Yes, well, we work with LSIS, the Learning and Skills Improvement Service, and we give them information about the outcomes of our inspections, so they're able to tailor support to make sure that there are the right sorts of materials and services in place to help providers. OfSTED's role is not as, if you like, an improvement body. Well, we hope we drive improvement, but we have to sort of keep our job as an inspectorate and not stray into other people's territory.
That's great. Melanie, thank you.
Thank you.